Chapter 23. Crimes Against the Family. 1. Adultery. Exodus 20:14, Deuteronomy 5:18, 22:22-24, Leviticus 18:20, 20:10. No advanced culture has long existed once adultery is tolerated because it is destructive of family life and of personal and social stability. God's law legislates against adultery on the part of both men and women. No man lives unto himself, and his sexual activity has social consequences of a far-reaching kind. Because the family is God's basic governmental institution for men, his law surrounds the family with protective legislation. Adultery is treason against the family, God's essential governing body. 2. The penalty. Deuteronomy 22:20-29, Leviticus 20:10. At one time, treason was against the church, in most of history against the state. At present, with the breakdown of the state, treason is poorly defined. In a godly society, treason is against the family. The penalty is death. In any society, the law of treason protects whatever is most important to that society. Where persons are concerned, the law against murder protects them. With the family, it is the death penalty for adultery. It is curious that a number of churches are hostile to divorce, but less harsh against adultery. In biblical law, death for adultery is a form of divorce, that is, by execution. In the 20th century especially, the family is less respected by the law, and adultery, however regarded by the church, is a private option. 3. Rape. Deuteronomy 22:25-29. The penalty for rape is death. If it be seduction, Exodus 22:16 and 17, a man must pay her, quote, the dowry of virgins, end quote, a considerable sum. If he offers to marry the girl, acceptance or rejection rests with the father. In either case, the payment of a dowry was mandatory. As a result, seduction and rape, because of their severe penalties, were not appealing options. At this point, many will hold that these laws worked once in a more rural society. It is held that in our present great population centres, such laws would never function. However, in great urban centres today, we have communities, sometimes both religious and national, where the controls on all are very real because nobody is anonymous. When social institutions other than the state weaken, anonymity sets in, and also lawlessness. Where people are anonymous, crime increases. The modern world is saturated with anonymity because the modern state has undermined all rival powers. The lust for anonymity with some people is a desire to be free to sin without recognition. The growth of the modern city came when transportation had advanced so that goods could be shipped from almost anywhere in the country, but people flocked to the cities because they wanted anonymity. Anonymity, or darkness, is appealing to many sinners. Sexual crimes are very serious in God's sight because the family is ordained by Him to be the central institution in man's life, more important than state or church, and holding the basic powers that govern the future: children, property, inheritance, education and charity, all now being usurped by the state because the state wants to govern both the present and the future. By giving so central an emphasis to family law, God makes clear how important the family should be to us because it is so very important to Him. True, there is neither marrying nor giving in marriage in heaven, Matthew 22:29-30, but neither is there preaching, medical care, elections, and more. Should we therefore abandon these things here? If something is important enough for God to include it in His Word, it had better be very important to us. 4. Prostitution. Leviticus 19:29, 21:9, Deuteronomy 23:17 and 18. God prohibits prostitution, but only in one instance is it punished. When the daughter of a priest becomes a prostitute, she profanes her father and is to be executed. It's an offence against both God and her father because of his office. 5. Incest. Leviticus 18, 6-18, Deuteronomy 22:30, 27:20, 22-23. Because this especially is a secret sin, not easily exposed nor witnesses available, no penalty is cited except the curse of God of a very total kind. 6. Seduction. Exodus 22, 16 and 17, Deuteronomy 22, 28 and 29. The Exodus text cites cases of seduction where, if the man is acceptable to the girl's father, marriage can be required by him. In any case, he must pay the dowry of a virgin. The law of Deuteronomy 22, 28 and 29 deals with an instance when the seduction or rape took place where her cries could not be heard, and it is difficult to determine whether or not it is seduction or rape. Then he shall pay a dowry and marry her with no right to divorce her. 6. Sexual acts during menstruation. Leviticus 18:19, 20:18. The penalty is excommunication. 7. Transvestite behavior. Deuteronomy 22:5. This is strongly forbidden but not punishable by man. It is an abomination to God. In a godly society, such conduct will be its own punishment. 8. Sexual assault. Deuteronomy 25, 11 and 12. No woman can defend her husband in a fight by attacking his assailant's private parts. This offence is so seriously regarded that the penalty is cutting off her hand. The implications here are far-reaching. If men in wartime attack civilians, mothers, women generally, and children, should not their penalty be similarly severe? 9. Bestiality. Exodus 22:19, Leviticus 18:23, 20:15 and 16, Deuteronomy 27:21. The penalty is death, both for the man or woman and for the animal. In one major city at least, animals for such sexual use are advertised. Such acts are an open defiance of God's order, and here as elsewhere, the pleasure is in the perversity of the act. 10. Sodomy, or homosexuality. Leviticus 18:22, 20:13, Deuteronomy 23:17 following, Romans 1:24-32. In Romans 1:27, this is called the burning out or the flaming out of man, the ultimate form of rebellion against God and his law order. As a result, the penalty is unequivocally death. Romans implies 1:32 that the penalty applies to both sexes. In Leviticus 18:5, the sexual laws are prefaced with the statements, quote, "Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, which, if a man do, he shall live in them. I am the Lord." End quote. This ties in with the commandments, quote, "Honour thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee." Exodus 20:12. Life is promised thus for both the physical and spiritual faithfulness to the family. Crimes against the family are crimes against God. If the penalty to a society be as severe as God declares it to be, should we be surprised that it is severe against individuals? Without persons, there is no church, nor state, nor society. God speaks first to us as persons. Without us, nothing else can exist. It would appear from the foregoing that no penalties are attached to prostitution except in the case of a priest's daughter, Leviticus 21:9. To assume this would be an error. Prostitution does not take place outside the context of life and relationships. The man who goes into a prostitute, and sometimes the prostitute as well, is commonly married. This has a penalty, death, Leviticus 20:10, Deuteronomy 22:22-25. Simply because it is for hire does not make an act of prostitution any the less adulterous.